Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with Australia versus the United States. Who would win? Military comparison. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this. I'm pretty sure the world knows the answer to this. USA's a much bigger country in terms of population, not in terms of size, because it's almost the same size as Australia. But in terms of population, much bigger country. So I'm assuming USA has a lot more money. And I mean, god dang it, the way spending wise, military gets most of it. It seems like when it comes to taxes and everything, most of it's going to the military. So I mean, I don't think there's really any country that would beat the USA military comparison wise. I hope not. But Australia and the United States would never fight. So this is just a hypothetical, I guess. But we're going to jump into it. Before we do, make sure you subscribe, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up. Let's do this.
This video is sponsored by Vikings War of Clans, a game that gives us that nostalgic feeling of the 90s and 2000s when the best strategy games were being made, except this one is a game version is simple. At the infographics. Support our channel by downloading Vikings using the links below and get your initial protection shield for free, as well as our special bonus of 200. Popular demand is another military comparison. This time we are featuring two fairly new countries, nations that at one point in time were colonies of the United Kingdom. The USA gained its independence on July 4th, 1776. Australia gained its independence on January 1st, 1901, when the Brits passed legislation to give the 6 Australian colonies the right to govern themselves under the Commonwealth of Australia.
I like that.
Unlike the USA, the country sometimes called Down Under has not vied for world dominance, although it has enjoyed a fairly good standard of living and economic prosperity. The countries are certainly not enemies unless you play Grand Theft Auto, which pits them head-to-head in a fictional conflict. How would they fare against each other if that were a reality?
Does it do that in Grand Theft Auto? I haven't played Grand Theft Auto since maybe the PlayStation 2 days, dog. So I don't know much about Grand Theft Auto now, but that's interesting.
That's what we're going to find out today in this episode of the Infographics Show, Australia versus the United States. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification squad. Let's start with Australia. At around 2,969,907 square miles, the country is the 6th largest in the world. Much of it is uninhabited, as many of Australia's population live close to the coast on different sides of the country. If you look at population density maps, you will see just how much of Australia's 24,659,200 people are huddled into small chunks of the country. Australia's indigenous Aboriginal people may have lived in the harsh environment of Central Oz, but for most Australians, much of their huge country is a no man's land. Australia's nominal GDP for 2016 was $1.257 trillion, making it the 13th largest GDP in the world, just above Spain and just below Russia. GDP per capita is $49,927. Now, let's turn to some USA basics. The USA is also a very large country, at 3,797,000 square miles, although it's way more crowded than Australia. This makes it the 3rd largest country behind Canada and Russia, although it is very similar in size to China. It has a population of 325,365,000. The US GDP is $19.417 trillion and $57,466 per capita. We could say the US has the world's biggest economy, but many experts now say this is China. The International Monetary Fund, CIA Factbook, and...
It is China, right? I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I don't be knowing none of this information. But I think I've seen videos where they talked about it being China.
World Bank all say China is #1. An interesting article recently published by Pew Global explains that various countries around the world have a different opinion on who has the biggest GDP, with slightly more countries believing the USA is still the larger economy. One thing we know for sure is that the USA spends a lot more on its military than any other country in the world, and by a country mile too. Its military is regarded as the strongest in the world, and it probably should be, with a $611 billion defense budget, which is about 3.3% of the GDP. That was for 2016.
600. That's what I'm saying, dog. It shouldn't be nobody that can beat us. If they spending most of our tax money and a lot of our money on the military, we should be the most, but we better be the most powerful, god dang it, or what we spending all this money for. You feel me?
2016, and sometimes the figure is stated as slightly less. For 2017, Donald Trump's budget for defense is around $587 billion, which is by far the biggest chunk of the USA's discretionary budget. More than a third of that goes to operations and maintenance, with just less than a quarter on military personnel. The most expensive program at the moment are those rather pricey F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. The budget for those alone was $11.6 billion in 2016 and will be $10.5 billion in 2017. To put that into perspective, the Environmental Protection Agency is allocated just $7.65 billion for 2017. Australia doesn't spend much by comparison, but is still 12th on the list of the biggest defense spenders in the world. Some sources put Brazil ahead and some behind. For 2017, it will spend $24.1 billion US dollars, according to the Australian.
That should let you know right there, dog. It wouldn't even be. And we all knew this before watching the video, so I'm not saying nothing that anybody didn't know. That this really wouldn't be much of a war, dog. The U.S. spends literally over 20 times more money. So yeah, it shouldn't be. Now Australia y'all do got all them deadly and venomous creatures y'all might release in the U.S. You feel me? And that probably would cause us a lot of problems, cause I'd be scared to death, cause y'all do live in a country with the most deadly and the most venomous creatures on earth. You know what I'm saying? So y'all might grow up harder than us. But just money wise, it wouldn't be a fair fight to that big of a difference in budgets. It shouldn't be much of a war.
In government, it's going to spend big over the next decade, with some military media stating that the country intends to become a lethal military force. The Ministry of Defense said recently that it has a commitment to security and stability around the globe, as relations between various countries seem tenuous at the moment. Much of the money spent will go to the Navy, which is not surprising given the country's geographical location. It has also joined in the spending frenzy on the aforementioned F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. What do these two countries get for their money? In terms of feet on the ground, out of the USA's 325 million people, 1.3 million are active military personnel and a further 811,000 act as reserve personnel. This is much larger than Australia's 61,000 active personnel and 21,000 reserves. Not surprisingly, the USA also has a lot more land equipment. In total, it has 5,884 tanks, 41,000 armored fighting vehicles, 1,934 self-propelled guns, 1,299 towed artillery, and 1,331 multiple launch rocket systems. Only China and easily Russia outgun the USA when it comes to tank strength. This also includes some of the most fierce land equipment ever, consisting of the mighty M1 Abrams tank, the world's best according to some pundits, the M109A6 Paladin self-propelled gun, and the tried-and-tested TOW anti-tank missile. Australia has just 59 tanks, 2,040 armored fighting vehicles, 0 self-propelled artillery, 75 towed artillery, and 0 multiple launch rocket systems.
Yeah, this wouldn't even be a fight, dog. That would turn out to be an execution. But Australia and America are such good friends. They never fight each other. But yeah, this would turn out to be an absolute execution, dog. I didn't know Russia outgunned America when it came to tanks, and they say China too. I may need to watch the video on who would win that.
It does have some good tanks though, which in the past were the highly rated Leopard 1s, but they have been replaced with M1 Abrams, just in much smaller quality than that of the USA. Where the United States exceeds every country on the planet is with its Air Force. As you know, the US is not shy on spending big here, and it is almost spoiled for choice. It has around 13,444 aircraft in total, many of which are the best ever made. This includes scores of F-22A Raptors, F-16 Fighting Falcons, F-15E Strike Eagles, and the expensive F-35A Lightning II. The US also has a large fleet of the McDonnell Douglas CF-18 Hornets, some of which have been converted to FA-18E Super Hornets. We already know Australia has spent on the F-35, but a rather startling piece of news emerged in September, and that was that its 2 brand new F-35s have a major problem. They don't work, according to Australian media. The USA has also had its fair share of problems trying to get these things combat ready. Australian news reported that the planes will likely require many millions being sunk into reconstruction and upgrade before they are fully capable of fighting on the front line. The country has a total of 465 aircraft, just over 150 of which are fighter and attack aircraft. It also has a small fleet of FA-18F Super Hornets and FA-18A and B Hornets, as well as EA-18G Growlers. As for the Navy, global firepower puts the USA as the third strongest behind China and North Korea. This is only in size though. It puts Australia down in 54th place. In total, the USA has 415 ships and Australia has 47 ships. The US has a total of 11 aircraft carriers, 22 cruisers, 67 destroyers, 8 frigates, 75 submarines, 0 corvettes, 9 amphibious assault ships, 11 mine warfare ships, and 55 patrol ships. We also have to take into account what all wealthy countries want, and that's a huge super carrier. America may have the best in the Gerald R. Ford class super carrier. Australia is also one of few nations to own aircraft carriers. While they might not be the behemoths of the US Navy, the almost new HMAS Canberra and the HMAS Adelaide are impressive beasts. The Aussies also own 11 frigates, 0 destroyers, 0 corvettes, 6 submarines, 13 patrol craft, and 6 mine warfare ships. Another thing, as you all know, the USA owns just less than half of all the world's 15,000 nuclear weapons. Australia doesn't have any and doesn't seem interested in developing them. It does, however, have aircraft that could deliver them. In conclusion, these two countries have been strong allies for a very long time. If anything did happen to break that bond, America is far too powerful for Australia. The only chance Australia would have is that harsh environment its people are used to living in. Maybe all those dangerous creatures that inhabit the country would get on side. So,
what I say? What did I call? Australia would have to release them deadly creatures they got, dog. That be the only way.
What do you think of this theoretical matchup? Does Australia possibly stand a chance? Let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other video called North Korea versus South Korea. Thanks for
the video didn't give us any information we didn't know besides the exact numbers and stuff. But, we knew it was going to be one-sided in almost every single category, dog. That really wouldn't be a war. That would be a one-sided execution. But I love my Aussies. I know Americans love their Aussies. Some of them love us Americans. So I don't ever see America and Australia ever, for any reason, going to war for anything. It wouldn't make sense. It just wouldn't make sense. But I'm intrigued to see like USA versus like Russia or USA versus China and see what it look like over there. That's all we got. Make sure y'all subscribe, ring notification bell, get the video a thumbs up. It's your boy Neal. Out.